and welcome to another edition of Washington Informer, bringing you news that matters. I'm your host, Denise Rolark Barnes, publisher of the Washington Informer, and we have a really exciting show today. We're happy that you enjoyed the Bridge Takeover last week and that you're joining us today. As I said, we have a really great show. We've got Raymond Rouse, a unique designer of chessboards, who'll speak with us, and our editor, Kevin McNeir, about his unique gift-related game with gold game, I call it. I don't know. But anyway, it's really a beautiful chessboard games that he creates. And Jenifer Gelencia, who spends her days helping the homeless. But how does she do it in the midst of a pandemic? And then we also have Theater Tony Miles from the DC Department of Insurance, Securities and Banking, who will give us the real deal on a popular investment scheme called Sou Sou. But first, here's this week's issue of the Washington Informer, which I don't have in front of me, and I always like to do that bang, but there it is. Chevrie's put it up on the screen, and I'm so happy. If you haven't picked up a copy of this week's issue of the Washington Informer, we hope you'll do so. It's available at your nearest newsstand, as well as you can check us out at washingtoninformer.com. And while you're there, we must ask you, please subscribe to our weekly newsletter. We need your support. It's also as simple as following us on Twitter, liking us on Facebook, and liking us and following us on Instagram. Your support means a lot. This week, Washington Informer editor Kevin McNeir and reporter James Wright wrote stories about the Commitment March, honoring the 57th anniversary of the March on Washington, hosted by the Reverend Al Sharpton. The theme, Get Your Knee Off Our Neck, was fully covered by the Washington Informer. James also explained or examined the HIV rate in D.C., and the number has shown a sharp decline. Read that in this week's issue of the Washington Informer. And reporter Bridget Squire examined child abuse statistics and the impact COVID-19, the pandemic, is having on the safety and welfare of our children. It's a story you don't want to miss. I know by now most of you all have heard of the passing of legendary coach John Thompson, basketball player Cliff Robinson, and actor and Howard University alum Chadwick Boseman. All of this was very sad news that hit us all last week. Well, Washington Informer and photographer Anthony Tillman produced a special video tribute that will follow the end of the show. Let me remind you that the 2020 census is winding down, and we still need to make sure that everyone, you got me? Everyone has completed a census form. And if you haven't done so and no one has contacted you, just remember the deadline is the end of this month, September 30th. So log on today at 2020census.gov, fill out the form. It's not too late. And it's also not too late to register to vote. Soon it will be too early to vote in the upcoming general election in November. Did I say it would be too early? No, it's not too early because we're going to be voting on November 3rd, but you've got to register. And so you can request your ballot. If you're already registered, you can request a mail-in ballot. Or in DC, actually, I got a letter in the mail the other day that said if I don't respond to this, then they're going to automatically send me a ballot. So I'm one of those who likes to go on election day. If I have to stand in line, it's not a problem. I want to get my little sticker that says I voted, but I'm not sure what I'm going to do this year. So if the ballot shows up in my house, I'm going to vote by mail. And so I hope that you will do that. Register, vote. Don't wait until the November 3rd. Do it as soon as possible. There's no need to wait. So, this week, the Democratic presidential candidate Joe Biden met with his family and met with the family and spoke to Jacob Blake, the young man who was shot in the back 7 times by police in Kenosha, Wisconsin, leaving him paralyzed from the waist down. President Trump also went to Kenosha against the wishes of the governor of Wisconsin and the mayor of Kenosha. Well, we've been hearing stories about that, and we've also written about that, and we know that is an ongoing situation. And even in our own backyards, in our own backyard now, we're dealing with an issue of a young man who was recently shot by police in Ward 8, and we'll be following that story. And on another matter, Dr. Anthony Fauci, director of the National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases, said a COVID-19 vaccine could be available earlier than expected. The Washington Informer wants to know if a vaccine becomes available, would you take the vaccine? We're going to do a poll, and we've done one in the newspaper, but we're going to do another one on our website. But if you're watching us right now, we want you to just, share your comments, share your thoughts. Go into our comment section and tell us, would you take the vaccine? Would you not take the vaccine? Or are you not sure at this point in time whether you would take the vaccine for COVID-19? We're still walking around with masks. We still are exercising social distancing, and we are wearing our gloves, and we're doing everything to keep our communities safe and keep ourselves safe. But if a vaccine is available, would that be your response? Would you be willing to take the vaccine? We want you to share your comments and your thoughts with us in our comments section. And lastly, more good news for Howard University. HU, as a two-time Howard grad, was so proud and almost just choked up when I heard the great news this week again for Howard University. Yesterday, the university and Mike Bloomberg, who ran the millionaire or billionaire, who also joined the Democrats in the primary, didn't win the primary, but he's still a billionaire. That didn't affect his wealth. Announced that Bloomberg Philanthropies is making a $32.8 million gift to support scholarships for current College of Medicine students at Howard University who are in financial need. And the gift is part of a total $1 million the former Democratic candidate's philanthropy program awarded to historically Black medical schools over the next 4 years to help increase, what do we need? More Black doctors in the U.S. Go Howard. What a tremendous gift. I mean, what a tremendous year. Howard University has produced a vice presidential candidate, Democratic candidate. The university got lots of money earlier this year, some grant money. And even though they're having to exercise social distancing, it's still important for students who are enrolled this year and who may end up with financial need, and the wherewithal is there for them to make it happen. So now let's bring on Washington Informer editor Kevin McNair. Kevin, you there?
Yes, I'm here. Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning. So like that background there, that Black Fathers Matters.
Yeah, we
as a Black father, you matter.
I do. And Black grandfathers matter too.
That's right. That's right. Because we're about to go into, I forgot to check the date, but I know Grandparents' Day is either this Sunday or it's coming up soon. So we should have told our viewers when that is. But I want to tell you, and I said it the other day in the meeting, because for the listeners and viewers, we meet every Thursday and we plan out this newspaper. And we have a dynamic team of reporters and photographers and what have you that you lead. And so I really did enjoy this issue of the Washington Informer. It's almost like saying to myself, I like the dress I'm wearing. But anyway, that's not the... But you actually did a story on the racially divisive protest and other things with regards to the march, and you did a piece on Chadwick Boseman. So, I mean, give me some of your thoughts about what we covered this week.
Well, it was a particularly busy news cycle. And I thought that the greatest challenge was fitting in the holes, plugging out the holes. The Chadwick Boseman story kind of hit us all by surprise. It grew in intensity and importance. And so I thought it incumbent upon us to really develop a solid piece that did more than an obituary. And everyone knows those pieces, but something really personal about him. I went back to cover a speech that he had given, commencement speech, and we were there a few years ago to analyze his words, and his words still have profound impact on us even 2 years later, and probably many years into the future. In terms of the March on Washington, or the Commitment March, um, it's funny how in just 2 short days, what we did was stop celebrating history and how to move the goals of historical events like that forward to a real backlash. And that's what we're examining now, as you know, in our staff meeting yesterday. What's coming next? James Baldwin said the fire next time. I don't know if it's the fire next time, but it's certainly a tenuous situation that we find our country embroiled in right now. And here in DC, we've got to really take a close look. Not only are we a city, but we're the nation's capital. And everything comes here. It's like actors go to Hollywood, politicians come to DC. And sometimes for our good, and other times, even in the statehood issues, sometimes to our detriment.
We talked about the front page stories, of course, and Will Ford did a piece on the efforts to restore the rights for ex-offenders or returning citizens to vote in Maryland. In the district we have that right, but I'm not sure. In Maryland, there's some efforts there, and I wanted you to sort of highlight some other nuggets in the paper that we haven't touched on so far.
Well, look, we talk about the census again, of course, and the importance of being involved in the census, responding to the census. But what is the saying when America gets told African Americans get the flu or something? I like to stand on the reality that every week, you like to say we're chock full of stories. I just want to say that our approach is to seek stories and talk about people, places, or things that impact the Black community in a positive light. And so from our health section to the business pieces, we're talking about new testing procedures for COVID. Our op-eds are varied from different voices of multiple races. And even in sports, what's going on in the boycotts for different teams. Interesting enough, our writer Daniel Houston, who wrote that story, we hear that the president is opposed to those kinds of actions, taking a knee or boycotting. But it was funny. I was listening to someone from WNBA, and I think it's in the article as well. Their vice president, who's also a player. There was a time when in women's sports they were told, just stick to the game, because we don't want to hear about your opinions. And now that they're talking to their opinions, they're criticizing them for raising their voices. But I think it's interesting to note that the women of that league, the WNBA, have all joined forces because they were a minority within a minority. And sometimes we have to do that. We have to put our differences aside in order to realize the good for the greater good. That's kind of what we do here, I believe, in our story content and in the way we approach them.
Well, I mean, again, it was a great issue, and I would just ask everybody that's out there that's listening, that may listen later on, if you haven't picked up a copy of The Informer, or if you haven't gone to the website, please go ahead and do so. Read this week's issue. Of course, all of our issues are archived on the website, and read what I call the great work of our writers throughout the publication, led by our dynamic leader, Kevin McNair.
Thank you.
And speaking of leader, I know when we come back, we're going to take a quick commercial break, again, reminding people about the census. But before we do, I want to give a shout out to Stacy Palmer, who is watching the show right now. And she basically, is like a lot of folks are really a little wary about this vaccine. And we've asked people to weigh in the comment section and let us know whether you would take a vaccine shot once it's available. So we're going to go take this commercial break. When we come back, Kevin, you'll take it away with Raymond Rouse.
Looking forward to it.
Complete the 2020 U.S. Census. It is safe and secure. It benefits your city, your community, and your family. Complete it online, over the phone, or once you receive it in the mail. You matter. Get counted. 2020 census.gov.
Excuse me. Hey, Raymond Rouse, what's going on?
Hey, how's it going, Kevin? How are you?
All right. So I want to introduce the community to you again. I had the pleasure of speaking with Brother Raymond a few days ago and putting together a story about a subject that's actually quite dear to my heart. I was one of those little nerdy boys back in junior high or elementary. I guess I always was a nerd, and walked around with my little chessboard with the little tiny black and white pieces you could hardly see until I was able to get some more money from my pops. And you have taken on a game of chess as an adult and making something of it, right? So can you tell us? Yeah, I mean, yeah, it is. We've got you in the paper on the web, and you got some serious goods there. So tell us how you got into chess again, and how you turned it from an issue of passion or something like passionate to a business proposition, profitable business proposition.
It's on its way to being profitable, but basically, one of my coworkers sat me down and told me how to play. We had a lot of downtime at work, so I was interested in the game. He had a board, so she sat me down and told me how to play. I took a lot of love for it, read up a lot on it, and I just ran with it basically.
Mm-hmm.
Bought a ton of chessboards and things of that nature. And so one day, a buddy of mine came over to check out some furniture I had made, because I also made lamps and tables. And I had a chessboard sitting on the table, and they were interested in that. So they asked me, do they think I could make them one? So I made one turned into three, and I made myself one that was purchased off of me. Then I felt like I was on to something. And then I patented the design and went from there.
So your company's name is Red Tile, correct?
The Red Tile, yes, sir.
It's the Red Tile. And I understand that one of your boards kind of got a nice piece of change, a good price for work that certainly merited that price. Right. It was the Jurassic Park themes. That's what it was.
Jurassic World. Yep. Yes.
Yeah. So we had dinosaurs and omnivores and all those kinds of things, huh?
Yes. It was funny. I didn't have the pieces with me to create that board.
Mm-hmm.
It was all from just watching the movie, actually. And when I watched the movie over 5 times just to gather information, to see what direction I wanted to go in with the board.
Mm-hmm.
And it turned into one of my masterpieces, if you ask me.
Yeah. So, in terms of themes, you've had to do some research and homework yourself lately for this new board you've created, which actually comes quite fittingly to what we're talking about here in the United States. You want to tell our viewers what that board's theme is all about?
The Black Lives Matter theme basically stems from what we're going through as we speak.
Mm-hmm.
It's nothing new for us, and I'm sure we're going to be going through it for quite some time. But it never hit as hard as it has been lately, because it seems like it's getting worse after George Floyd incident.
Right.
After the death of George Floyd, I'm sorry. It seems like things are getting worse. So I always wanted to do something to not necessarily give back, but give back and also deal with what we're going through at the same time. So I chose that. And as I was researching it, it even started to hit a little harder, because you look up these names of the lives that were taken, and there's so many names to follow that we don't even know about or hear about.
Mm-hmm.
So I could easily make 3 or 4 chessboards with all different names on them. I can even make a chessboard with only young Black female names only.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of devastating, but hopefully this helps.
And so, I'm making this board. You're doing some things out in the community, as I understand too, and we indicated in the story, connecting with young children are also learning about the game of chess, or just developing a desire, because it's strategic, it's tactical.
Right.
Chess does teach us a whole lot about life when you think about it.
Chess is life.
It really is, and it's been one of those games since the 7th century. But you've got some involvement with community youth and your boards. What's that effort all about?
Just to help out, because I know a lot of those chess programs aren't funded. and you will find a guy that's an adamant chess player who wants to give back, and he'll teach the community chess. And they seem to need a lot of help sometimes. So I'm just going to donate some of the proceeds of a raffle of the Black Lives Matter board, and I'm going to design a theme-specific chessboard for that chess club.
Okay, so you can give us some additional information. We certainly can post that to the website. I think I understand there may have been some changes in how that process is coming to fruition within the last few days, and so I want our readers to know that when you go to the story on the web, there will be a correction at the bottom of the story to indicate the procedure that you should follow to support this venture, to be part of the raffle. But even more, not only Black Lives Matter, but it matters to spend black dollars with black men and women. And somehow I don't know if I'm making enough money to buy a chessboard, but I may have to barter some services or something. Because I want one with people like James Baldwin and folk like that on my board. I don't know what I want, but we can work that out.
We can work it out.
We can work it out. Yeah. So, here's a native Washingtonian who's doing positive things. And one of the reasons I really like this story and why I like the engagement that Raymond and I have had is I tell people all the time, I don't put criminals on the front page. Not criminals may look like us, incidentally. Other criminals, perhaps, but not black criminals, because we are not a monolith. Just because people show stories of us always running to or running from or doing things that are not positive for the community, there are hundreds of thousands of untold stories about brothers and sisters who are doing something that matters, to show not only that they matter, but Black Lives Matter. And so Raymond Rouse is that kind of brother. And so we want you to go to his website, as you see there. You're at home more now, you got some quiet time. You can learn how to play chess too. And you can get you a fabulous, outstanding, unique chessboard that becomes yours. And one of the things about that board we haven't mentioned, if they can put that back up on the screen again, hopefully, the pieces on the chessboard represent different men or women whose lives have been lost. You see Emmett Till there, you see Michael Brown, Tamir Rice, and of course the case where it unfortunately all kind of started after the Emmett Till situation is Trayvon Martin. And Raymond, you said that took you particularly emotionally, and that's kind of how your observation of this steady increase of Black lives being killed happened, and that's about Trayvon Martin. Why was that a seminal moment for you?
Because doing the research, I noticed that in 2013, it's like the cops went on a rampage with killing Black youth. Same day, almost same time deaths, 2 different cities, 2 different youths.
Yeah.
It was like they made a phone call to each other and they just went on a rampage. So that kind of bothered me a lot.
So as we continue to tell this history, is there a bright light at the future? Are you optimistic?
I'm sure it is, but I doubt if me and you will be around to see it. But we're on a nice start, so I think we'll be fine.
We're gonna claim we're gonna be around because we're gonna be around.
I hope so. Let's hope so. I know I'm gonna be around.
Raymond, I want to, yeah, definitely, Kevin. This has been great, and Raymond, thank you. And the comments have been fantastic. People have been to your Instagram page, and
nice.
And thanks to our buddy Stacy Palmer, she's put up your Twitter page and all. I mean, how to find you. Right. So keep doing what you do, and Kevin and I need to take some chess lessons so that we can. Go ahead, and if we purchase chessboards, at least we know how to use it.
I haven't played chess in 20 years, so I need to pick it up. Yeah.
All right.
I teach also. So.
Oh, all right. Okay. Sounds like a plan.
It's right there. Yeah.
All right. Thank you all so much.
Thank you.
We'll talk to you soon. All right, Kevin, talk to you soon. All right. Okay. Okie doke. Yeah, boy, that's fantastic. In the midst of COVID, people are doing a lot of creative things, a lot of creative things. And I say, despite even all the violence and the COVID and everything that's happened in our community, we still have people out there that are finding ways to make a difference and to help others, even in spite of the fact that they may need help themselves. And so one such person is Jenifer Gelencia. We saw her earlier, but Jenifer has been volunteering at the shelter at 2nd and D Streets Northwest for 20 years. She hosts a podcast, Healing for Humanity, on blackunity.com. She's a graduate of Bowie State University, holds a degree in psychology, and she's just doing the doggone thing to support the community. Welcome to the show, Jenifer. How are you? We need you to unmute yourself. There you go. Okay.
Yes,
All
wonderful.
right.
Sister Queen Denise, as I told you before, I'm so honored and blessed to be here. I followed you. And just to have an opportunity to share this story with you, it's a true blessing and honor. Thank you for having me.
So how did you get, my pleasure, but how did you, people see people in need, right? And they always say, I wish I could help, but, and it's easier for most people just to, well, for some, just to drop $1 in a cup, some spare change in a cup or things like that. But what have you been doing?
Well, let me tell you what sparked this every Saturday ministry, as I call it. I'm a part of a group called the Newsom Queens. I was helping a Baltimore mayoral candidate by the name of Dr. Fred Newsom. We formed the Newsom Queens, and one of his platforms was to help our dear family in the streets, the homeless, and I call them kings and queens. And I'll get into why I call them that, but he wanted to go into the encampments, and many of us may not even know these exist. This is where the families live out in hoods and tents. And I witnessed an interview, an individual, one of them named Rupert, and he lived on a decline, and he talked about how when it rains, all of his belongings that he gathered become flooded. And I saw clothing on lines out there where the family go to work just like you and I, and come back home and have to sleep in campgrounds and are threatened by bears and threatened by all manner of young people coming and taking Social Security checks. So this touched my heart and my spirit, my dear Sister Queen. I went home and I prayed, and it began to rain one of those next days. And I said, I cannot just sit here any longer and help sometime here and there sparingly. The Lord moved me to go out one Saturday, and I declared that I will continue to go out and help another sister queen that looks like you and I.
So tell me what you're doing. Tell me how you're helping. What is it that you're doing? Because we've heard you're providing clothing. Tell me specifically ways in which you're helping and how people can help you to help.
Most certainly. Again, we go out each and every Saturday to 2nd and D Streets Northwest. I put out a post every week. I ask the community, could you please call me and inbox me? I will meet you at your apartment, at Walmart. I will meet you wherever, and I gather clothing and items. I do the food each and every week out of my own pocket. And so we take the items that filled up to my car up to the ceiling. And how you can help me is I've been asking the community for a van or a truck, because I had to turn a sister away this morning at 6 a.m. She wanted to donate, but I'm full. And so I asked you in former magazine, Sister Denise, in the community, would you help me get a bigger vehicle so that I can deliver these goods and services to the family at 2nd and D each and every Saturday at 2 p.m.
Well, this is really fantastic. I mean, it takes a special person with a special spirit. And from my understanding, I mean, you understand the plight of many of these people because have you ever faced homelessness? Is that?
almost. And I have become brave enough to talk about that. I was ashamed at one time, but now I say I was on the way to second D after suffering a divorce. See, it could happen. I had a job and all of that, but sometimes you don't know what people have gone through. I was on the way to living in second D when my spiritual grandmother said, "No, you won't." So she took me, and I was sleeping on her couch with myself and my son, who was 8 at the time. So I almost was there, Queen. So I feel for any family that's out there suffering, and I'm going to do my part each and every Saturday with the help of the community.
Well, we really appreciate your effort. I'm glad that you took a moment to join us here on Win TV and to share this story, to share the work that you've been doing. Unfortunately, we didn't have any sort of photographs thing of actual what we're doing out there, but we know that just through your story, it's profound work. How can people reach you if they want to assist or help you?
Please, I live on Facebook. You can reach me at Jenifer Gelencia. That's Jennifer. Last name Gelencia. I will come to you to get those donations. And if you would like to give a monetary donation, please do it via Cash App. That's $GELENCIA. $Gelencia. I look forward to hearing from you because no one can do it alone. I need you to help me, community, to help the homeless kings and queens.
Just out of curiosity, because we didn't ask this question earlier, is your organization a 501c3, or is it are you in the process of doing that, or what's the status?
Yes, it started off as a process from my heart. It's a heart work, but we want to move it into a legitimate 501c3 organization. And I hope that I have time to just mention, because it's not Sister Jenifer alone. We're part of a group called the New Royal Family. And I want to mention this group that worked together. We served over 100 pizzas at the pizza party extravaganza 3 weeks ago, right there at Second and D. And I can't talk about just me. I want to mention my dear sister Queen Tish Lee, my dear sister Queen Kimmery Toll, Sister Queen Terry Dade, who is my big sister, my biological sister, Brother King Margrave, Brother King Dana Rome, and Brother King Trayvon Williams. We are the new royal family because we see you as royalty, and we truly see those out in the highways and the byways suffering. They're royalty to us, and we will continue to serve them.
All right. I appreciate your time. I appreciate your work. I appreciate you. And I'm appreciating those fingernails too there, Sister Jenifer. But anyway, yeah, thank you. Thank you so much. And as Terry Dade said, she's proud of you. And we want you to continue to stay strong. And again, thank you for making a difference.
Thank you for having me, my dear sister Queen Denise.
All righty. Okay. You all take care. And, like I said, it just takes the person who just has a desire to make a difference in someone's life to just step out there and do the doggone thing. And Jenifer is doing it. And we're very proud of her. So we're going to move now, because I'm going to tell you, I don't know about you all, but I have been hearing about and contacted by friends. I don't know if you all have been contacted by friends who've asked you to join a blessing loom or a Sou Sou and or a giving circle. It's a way people are saying, of course, other cultures have used this to raise money in their communities, and we here in the DC area are no exception, because these giving circles or Sou Sous are spreading like wildfire. Thank you, wildfire. So anyway, after this quick video, we're going to bring on an expert from the Department of Insurance, Securities and Banking. You don't want to miss this. If you're about to join a Sou Sou, if you're in a Sou Sou, or thinking about it or starting one, you don't want to miss this. We'll be right back.
If you're not familiar with a traditional Sou Sou, a Sou Sou is a savings arrangement where a group of people each pool an equal amount of money for a specific amount of time, and at some point, everyone within the Sou Sou would receive a full payout or a lump sum from the hand. What you guys are looking at is the friends and family share flower. So there are 4 positions on the flower, which equals 4 weeks. Week 1, you come in as a fire. That's when you give your $500 gift. Week 2, you move to the air position. Week 3, to the earth position. And week 4, the water position, where you are paid out the $4,000 gift. Keep in mind that everyone that's sitting in the fire position right now is responsible for bringing in 2 more fires that following week.
All right. Mr. Miles, I would love to be in the circle to get that $4,000 at the end of 4 weeks, but I don't know what else I would be facing. So we're so glad that you are here to talk to us from the Department of Insurance, Securities and Banking, Attorney Miles, who is a graduate of Harvard University, former professor at Howard School of Law, one of my professors, as a matter of fact. I'm proud to have you here, and who has taught classes and works in the area of corporations, business, and the administrative process and civil rights. And you're the Associate Commissioner of the Department of Insurance, Securities and Banking. Thank you for joining us and helping us to understand, is this legal?
Thank you, Denise, and it's a pleasure to be a part of this program. You've had a lot of very interesting pieces. I just want to say, going in, that my wife and I went to the first Marshall in Washington, and it's always a pleasure and an honor to remember the spirit of that occasion, and we hope that it will remain. It's what we need. So. Thank you for reminding us of that.
Yes.
The other thing I need to say is that the remarks I'm going to give here are my own. They are not the views of the Department of Insurance, Securities and Banking, or the commissioner, or my colleagues in the department. So you're just getting the views of Tony Miles, and I welcome the opportunity to speak about it, and welcome any questions you may have. And let me start by saying that there are 2 types of Sou Sous, and I'll Sou Sou is the just general term for this. One is something that's been around for a long time. Caribbean people have it, West African people have it, and what it is people that are related or go to church together or have that kind of closeness and know each other, who put in money at regular intervals, and they have the opportunity to get back savings program, basically, and they get back what they put in at a specified time. And that is the traditional Sou Sou. Now, the modern Sou Sou involves someone you may not know and people that you don't necessarily know, and you're told that you may get a big payout of more than you put in after a certain period of time. And that is the one that I want to talk about, because it's got several serious questions. And first of all, it's got legal risks, it's got financial risks. These things, I don't know if any of you remember the term pyramid club, but this modern day Sou Sou is really a pyramid club in new clothing or with a new label. It only works as long as new people keep coming in. You notice in the video that you're supposed to bring in 2 other people, and that as long as that chain keeps turning and more new people keep coming in, you have the money to pay the people that came in earlier. But all of these things end up with no more new people coming in, and then the people that came in last wind up holding the bag and they lose their money. So it's really got serious risks. And on the legal side, you don't know what kinds of things that law enforcement may take a dim view of this, the tax people may take a dim view of it. So you have to be very careful, and the safest course is probably to just avoid it. If you get called by somebody, even somebody that you know, just discourage the conversation, talk about Black Lives Matter, talk about something else that you both care about, and let the other thing just drop. And somebody
yeah,
said, sure, you have a question?
Yeah, I wanted to jump in because I know there was a recent article written in the Washington Post. Michelle, and I don't know why her last name just is
Singletary.
Singletary, thank you so much. Michelle
Right.
Singletary did a piece a few weeks back, which is one reason why we decided to have this conversation with you, in which she said in the state of Maryland, it is illegal. And I'm glad that you distinguish the two types of Sou Sous. But I think, we all realize that a lot of Black people particularly are unbanked. They're going through this crisis with COVID-19 not working, but they have some financial resources. And it does appear to be, at least they feel, it's a savings plan for them to, if do nothing else, to provide for their families for a month after they've made that initial investment. But I understand what you're saying. I mean, it's maybe not a good idea to participate, but I guess the question I'm really trying to figure out is, are there any legal implications for individuals who may participate?
Well, there are. Thank you for asking that question. And I have not identified any particular enforcement cases in the district, but around the country, there are states that have gone after the people that organize these. There are states that have actually tried to claw back. And that's a term we use. If you got money that you shouldn't have been receiving. So even if you got winnings in the Sou Sou program, you may not be able to keep it. And if you do keep it, the IRS may come after you, and you may be regarded as a participant in the scheme. Just like if you've heard of Bernie Madoff, some of the people that brought in other people into his scheme wound up in trouble because the government wanted the money back that they got. And it's just full of risks, and I'm not prepared to say that it's totally illegal in the district, but I would caution anybody that's interested in it that you could wind up behind the 8 ball legally and financially.
On another note, I'm just wondering, is there anything else that's going on out there, that you all are looking at DISB, that might be other kinds of financial schemes that people need to be leery of right now because of the lack of money flowing through our communities? I mean, are there some things that people should know about?
Thank you for that question. The answer is yes. And we say, in these times, difficult times for people are being offered opportunities to make some quick money, to recover the losses they may have had in their losing a job, losing some value in their investments, other things. People may be told, take your retirement money out and put it into silver because silver will hold its value, or get a loan on your retirement and use that money for this other get rich scheme. And we always say, Whenever something sounds too good to be true, it probably is too good to be true. So whenever somebody comes to you with an opportunity, a proposal of this sort, ask them, are you registered with the SEC? Are you registered with the Department of Insurance, Securities and Banking? And before you put your good money into it, which you may lose, call us. Call us. The office number is 202. What is it? We've been on in this COVID basis, so I have to think for a minute. But the number is 727-8000, and you can email us at www.disb.dc.gov, and it'll route you to queries and complaints. And the best way to avoid loss is just don't put your money into something you don't understand in the first place. And if you don't understand it, ask them and ask us.
I really, really appreciate you coming on and shedding some light on an activities that has become very popular in our community, and to give folks some guidance. And the show will be aired again, or people will be able to locate it on Facebook. So we're going to try to and through YouTube. So we're going to try to get this out to the community. One of our viewers, again, who's just really supporting us today, Stacy Palmer, said people really do need to hear this, and that's why we wanted you here. So we thank you so much, Attorney Miles, for spending this time. And we want the DISB back on in the future, or yourself, just so that we can keep the community informed on how to keep not only themselves safe, but their pocketbook safe as well.
Yeah, well, and this is something I'd say in closing: be very aware of your seniors, family members, and your friends, your neighbors, because some of these bad guys know how to target seniors, and they are fearful, and they are the most pathetic victims, because if they lose money, they can't get it back.
Right.
So that's my last question to you. But thank you for the opportunity to be on, and please, let's stay in touch.
We'll do, and I'm glad you brought that up, because I've got some of those stories as well. So we are going to talk about what's happening with our seniors. So take care, stay safe, and we'll talk soon. So that's it for Sou Sou's. Well, anyway, I won't tell my personal story, but we're glad that we were able to have Attorney Tony Miles on to share this information with us. And if you heard and got this, sort of spread the word with people that you know. Again, that's it for this edition of Win TV. We always pass off the last 15 minutes or so to WI Bridge TV. So at the end of the show, after the bridge segment ends, we want you to watch our tribute to Georgetown Hoya coach John Thompson, to actor Chadwick Boseman, and NBA star Cliff Robinson of the Portland Trail Blazers. Again, pick up a copy of the Washington Informer. Subscribe to our email at washingtoninformer.com. Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn. Until next week, have a great weekend and a safe holiday. Up next, Bridge TV.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you, Denise, for turning over this time for Washington Informer Bridge TV. I'm a contributor with the Washington Informer Bridge, and today we're going to be speaking about an incredible collaborative effort that took place in our most recent edition. Comedian Joe Marshall is known to many area residents as a funny man and also somebody with a bit of a social consciousness. And Manny Hernandez, he's a graphic artist based out of the Rhode Island area, who collaborated with Joe for a fantastic piece. And we wanted to speak about that because we like to, push the envelope in a positive manner here at the Bridge, and I feel like this does its best. So if we can bring them in, I don't have controls over that, but here they are. Joe, Manny, what's going on?
What's up, man? How you doing?
I'm all right. I'm all right. So, Joe, I've seen you perform before with something with our Rock Creek Social Club. So it's a pleasure to be able to speak with you. And Manny, I love your work, and I've just come to your work given this this recent issue of the Bridge. So you do fantastic work, though. So if you two guys could speak to how the collaborative process came together for you, and as insofar as like working during a pandemic and trying to create the best possible piece that does the best work.
Yeah, for sure, man. I guess it kind of started when the piece got written, maybe a couple months after, all the killings. I'm not even gonna name which ones. There's so many. It's really hard to keep up with. But all the killings of unarmed Black men really started to resurface again, almost reminiscent of like how it was in 2014. I remember when all that stuff was happening in 2014. I remember exactly where I was. I was in Texas doing some work out there. And I just remember how it really just affected me. But back then, I didn't really know like what to do or how to really express it. And it came around this time again, and I felt the same way of just not really knowing how to express it. And so I was silent as far as like silent on writing jokes. I mean, me, like I try to every day, I try to work on scripts and do my acting thing as much as I possibly can. When all this stuff happened, I don't know, this stuff wasn't funny to me anymore. I couldn't find the humor in the little things like I usually do. So I took some time to just really be silent, just really kind of educate myself and just dig into the situation and embrace the moment. And then finally, I was able to just express myself through the piece, which we titled Uncle Sam's Fable.
Exactly.
So it really just started off with me just kind of like trying to figure out, I mean, I was seeing a lot of white people trying to be advocates, and they were trying to help out, and they were trying to, see what they can do. And some of it was good and some of it was a little misguided. And I just kind of likened the whole situation to, white people discovering that America was built on systemic racism as little kids figuring out that Santa Claus ain't real.
Right. Right.
Went on went on the rabbit hole with that. I wrote it down. And then Pierre Edwards on Instagram, District Dodger, he's the guy who was the co-producer of this most recent issue. A good friend of mine, he reached out to me and he said he wanted me to contribute to the issue. And I was like, well, hey, I just wrote this joke. I would love to do it. But I think what would make it even better is if we illustrated it in some sort of way to really get the tone of it and bring the message home. And that's when I came across Manny's work. Came across his work on Instagram. As soon as I saw it, I loved it. I loved it because it has so many layers. So he can take one image, and in that one image, I mean, there's like 20 jokes that you just got to find, right? And so I was like, yo, if I can hook up with this guy, he can take what I wrote to a whole nother level. And that's exactly what he did. So I reached out to him on Instagram. I was like, yo, man, I got this idea. What do you think? He was all for it. He took it to the next level. So Manny, I'll let you take it from here.
Thanks,
yeah. Hold on 1 second, Manny. While you're talking, Lafayette, if you can throw up the image as well, that'd be great. Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah. I just want to kind of add to some of what Joe was just speaking to. First off, I just want to say that Joe is probably the equivalent of the perfect client, right, in the design world, where Joe, he knew what he wanted, right? He had done his homework already. He kind of executed his part. And when he came to me, he reached out and he didn't really want to put too many restrictions or limitations onto me. And I thought there was going to be a little bit more of a hand holding with Joe. And I'm like, all right, so what do you want? This is your piece. This is your work. This is your writing. What do you want for each illustration? And he's like, no, you figure it out. Like I trust you to do what you need to do. And so that was really nice. And it was just super smooth. And Marcus, you brought up the fact that we're working in through this COVID pandemic, and it is tough in the sense of in the fact that we can't really talk face to face, right? But we had a really good first conversation via phone and he was really, and then to just top it all off, the reason why I think that he's a really good client, if you will, is he loved everything I did. Right?
No, you want ideally, right?
Perfect.
Yeah. So, Manny, I wanted to ask you, you work in the corporate world and you do this as well on the side. And you're trying to make that evolution, I guess, in your career. So being able to handle social issues via your medium, how does that feel? Is that something that you want to like expand into more significantly? Because these are trying times, and these trying times are not going to end. We're going to be looking at this for the next 5 to 10 years. So your thoughts about being able to do this and make that evolution?
Absolutely. So yeah, I think that it's really tough, right? For not only illustrators, not only designers. I think it's tough for everyone, right? And
Right.
that's the real thing. And during this COVID time, it's been actually interesting because I've taken this time to just kind of self-reflect and just see what I can put down on paper. And a lot of it has been kind of humorous work that I've been working on with illustrations and like COVID, like what happens, you know, in COVID, and you know the haircuts. There's no barbershops are open,
right?
And you know, and people are getting, you know, gaining weight. I'm gaining weight. I don't want to speak for everyone, but and so these humorous, like I'm trying to find a little bit of light at the end of the tunnel and just kind of get us through that during these trying times. And I think it was perfect because that was the work that Joe saw, that he thought, wow, man, he's like really putting he's saying a lot with just one image. And so I think that was a perfect kind of it came full circle in that way.
Yeah. So Joe, I want to ask you a simple question. As a comedian, past this piece, what was the first joke you wrote, and did you find it funny when it came to you?
So you said the first joke I ever written?
Yeah, that you've written since you did. Since you did this piece, because now you're back.
Yeah.
Regularly. So you're finding humor again. So I wanted to ask you about writing a joke, because I know a lot of comedians write jokes that they don't tend to find to be funny, but they know that it's humorous. So I wanted to ask you about the first joke, and did you find it funny, and did you like actively just write a joke because you're like, okay, I need to get back to writing jokes?
Yeah, I think after I did that, it inspired me to start writing again. But I knew like if I was going to write, I had to address what was going on. Like I had to address the main thing in the room. And I think like the biggest thing with comedy, with acting, with film, with all of those mediums, with art, it's all about honesty, being present in the moment and acknowledging the most impactful thing at that moment. So for me to like try and make jokes about like normal stuff wasn't going to work at that time. So I had to just dig directly into that. So the first like set that I tried to write out was about George Floyd, and it was about the 8 minutes and 46 seconds. And I was trying to bring home just how crazy and how long 8 minutes and 40 seconds really was. And I was comparing it to like all different things. Like if it was Thanksgiving and your religious uncle prayed for 8 minutes and 46 seconds over the food, how mad you would be. Just like little stuff in your everyday life.
This will blow your mind, Joe. I was having a conversation with somebody and I said, it's half of the first half of a college basketball game.
Yeah, that's crazy. It's crazy, but it's but sometimes comedy can bring that out, right?
Right.
It sometimes it's the only way that you can get to really realize, wow, like 8 minutes and 46 seconds. And I feel like that's the gift of comedy, is I can put it in layman's terms, so to speak, where I can bring it to your house where you can realize what 8 minutes and 46 seconds might be in your daily life and then compare it to that. So I tried out a couple different things. Yeah, I've still been on that tip. I actually wrote something that I've recorded, and I'm working on a couple things, trying to get some live shows back together. But I'm back right now. I'm addressing the issues and wrapping it up with my normal life together and just making it all one, not separating the two. It's all one.
Yeah, good deal. So as a final question, I wanted to ask both of you guys, is this a process that you feel like has broader scope, being able to like use different mediums to be able to showcase like, you know, just the humor of something, or just to be able to get the message out differently?
I think for sure, yes. I think, you know, as artists, being able to communicate across mediums is huge. I think that was one of the biggest goals behind Sonic Studio, you know, producing this issue. I think they wanted to be able to bring these artists together and communicate what freedom meant to us from all these different artists, essentially speaking different art languages, but telling the same message. And that's what we were able to do. You know, me and Manny were able to communicate with our different languages and combine them together. And I think there's unity in that. In a world where, you know, unity seems to be a little scarce, I think, you know, art could be the bridge for that for sure. Oh, the bridge.
There it is. Boom.
Didn't even plan that.
You already said. There it is. So, Manny, just real quick with you. Your
Yeah.
thoughts about doing this? Is this a way that you want to proceed as far as like doing a collaborative effort?
Absolutely. I think that collaboration is such an important part within the art and design world. And I think that the more mediums, the more accessible it is to different folks. And so I thought this was amazing, especially during this time that we were able to do it. And if you look at the body of work, just within the Bridge magazine, it was amazing in that way.
Yeah, so thank you guys so much for the conversation. I want to tell everybody that you could find a copy of the Washington Informer Bridge, this month's copy, at Somewhere on 1239 First Street Southeast. Shout out to all the guys at Somewhere. I've known those guys for a decade and they're doing fantastic work. Moreover, after we get out of this segment, we're going to be showing a special video in regards to the recently passed Chadwick Boseman, John Thompson, and Cliff Robinson. And again, thank you so much, guys, for the conversation.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
If you're not familiar,
sometimes you need to get knocked down before you can really figure out what your fight is and how you need to fight it.
I am a Howard University student, and that is your alma mater. I am so very proud to say that a bison is T'Challa, the Black Panther. Seriously, when you made your big scene, when you came out, I shed a tear. It was a big deal for me and my friends, and definitely Howard University. So I just want to say thank you so much for showing us that there are avenues for us.
Ain't you?
I thought you could give me my euro. Oh my God.
What?
That was fantastic.
What is going on?
John Thompson and Patrick Ewing. So that's why I always wore number 33 in case you guys didn't know. And, just watching them too and watching how he interacted with the players. And then, went to Texas and, had already made my decision about going to LSU. But if I didn't play for Dale Brown, I think I can honestly say I would have loved to play for John Thompson. And then when I met him, he was just so nice. And to hear John Thompson say, big man, I like the way you play, you're a great player, it just, made me, feel pretty good.